with Tracy in LA. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Dance Journey. Today we have Eric Huang, and I'm super excited to have Eric. We call him Dancing Eric. That's his Instagram. Every time I have said that I'm having Eric on the podcast, I've said I'm having Dancing Eric on my podcast because I basically know Eric from Instagram. This is actually the first time right?
Yep.
This is the first time I've ever seen you in person.
Yes.
But we have a mutual friend, Georgia.
Yep.
And Georgia Bertolotti, she was also on the podcast a while back. And I guess I've always seen her like commenting on your videos, or you guys have been in pictures together or something. Because you both take hip hop at Millennium, right?
Yep.
Kayla's class.
Yes.
I'm basically saying everything I know about you right now. But I've been kind of following your journey. I started following you on Instagram because I like your energy. Seems like you take a lot of class and you're very excited about dance. And it seems like, I don't know, the last few videos you've posted, I know you put in the caption like, oh, one of the first times in getting like videoed in a group, like in a small group with like a professional videographer, and you were like in front killing it, and I was
Thank
like,
you.
okay, let's go Dancing Eric.
Yep.
So I just was like excited about your journey, and then we were just chatting because sometimes you comment on my stuff.
Yep.
And then I was like, I wonder if he wants to be on my podcast.
Yep. Same here. Like I actually discovered you when Georgia came on the podcast.
Okay.
And I started, listening because I've been trying to find, dance things, meet dance people since I just moved here.
Okay.
And so, I've been listening, and same thing, following you, and and I'm like, who knows? One day if I be on, it'll be cool.
You thought about it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yay. Well, I'm so glad you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize you just moved here. Where did you move here from?
I'm originally from New Jersey, but I moved from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And was that just like for work or?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to learn all about your life in a second. But today we are taking a class after the podcast because I have a rehearsal later, so we're not able to shoot right after the class. But it's a class we both taken before, so it's Alkai Kane's jazz funk class on Wednesday nights at Athletic Garage, and how long have you been taking Alkai for?
So Alkai, I've been taking more of his hip hop classes.
Okay.
And then jazz funk is something I've been just trying to get more into.
Yeah. And you've been taking his hip hop classes for how long?
Hip hop, I think actually since moving here, since like October, November, I started taking a little bit, but here and there, I think I want to do more of it. But I think it's just timing. Things get busy sometimes.
Okay. How did you hear about Alkai's hip hop class?
So actually, so I have a friend who is now in Pittsburgh, who used to be in Pasadena. We literally switched cities. She told me about Athletic Garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And actually I have same story because I mostly have taken Alkai's hip hop classes too. I took his jazz funk class for his podcast when he was on the podcast, but he did a contemporary piece that night. So actually this might be my first time taking his when it's actually jazz funk.
I remember when I saw that you were you had him on and you were in that class. I literally couldn't make that class. I wanted to make that class because I was like, I want to meet you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That was a fun class, but it was definitely contemporary. We were definitely on the floor, and it was funny because people weren't expecting it, and so people were like wearing shorts and they were like, my knees hurt.
I think I would say a lot of his jazz funk choreos do. A lot of them do have floor.
Oh, they do.
Work as
so
well.
they should have known. They should have known to wear pants then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I am wearing pants. I didn't even think about possibly wearing. I probably would have. Because like all my classes right now, I have to wear pants. So whenever I'm going to a class where I'm like, oh wait, there might not be floor work, I like to wear shorts. But I forgot to think about that today, which is probably good since you just told me he usually goes to the floor.
Yep.
I have seen his jazz funk videos, and I'm always like, oh my gosh. Alkai's jazz funk looks so fun. Like I like his hip hop, but I actually think his jazz funk looks really fun and kind of hard. So I'm excited to finally like really try it tonight.
Oh, yes.
And I wish we had time to talk about it afterwards, but I'm just going to have to like write a caption or something. But so that's the class we're doing, and that's how we know each other. And now we just want to hear about your life, Eric. So you just moved here, you said in like October or something?
Yes.
Okay. And it was for work, and we'll get into your whole story, but first, what does your current dance life look like? Because you have a day job.
Yes.
And so how are you dancing? Because it seems like you're dancing a lot. So what's your dance life look like right now?
So right now, these days, again, I do have a day job, but right now after work, usually usually I'll do maybe like 1 or 2 classes a week,
Okay.
And so, usually Athletic Garage or Kayla's class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kayla's class at Millennium, and that's on Saturday mornings?
Saturday mornings, and now she has a Friday night class too.
Oh,
so I'll
nice.
add it in.
Is that at T. Millie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
See, I know Kayla's schedule, mostly because of Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been mostly taking hip hop.
Yes.
And what's like your favorite thing about these hip hop classes?
I will say, I think it's very free flowing. I think as we'll probably mention later, coming from a ballroom background, I think it's helping me like loosen up.
Okay.
And also I think just the energy of all these classes, like all the instructors, they're just like all the positive energy, and it's like they're always like so encouraging about not having to be perfect. All the time. It's just like dance whatever you are.
Yeah. Do you struggle with like trying to be perfect?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. It's so hard for me to just like let it go and just like enjoy it. I mean, I do enjoy it, but I'm always like, I have to get the moves correctly and on the exact right counts and all these things.
I think coming from both ballroom and also with finance in my background, I think just that kind of mindset, I'm like, I want this to be,
Yeah, is
certain
ballroom
way.
pretty like perfectionistic? Because
Yes.
I don't know much about it.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. That'll be interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so you're enjoying, I know I'm so curious what kind of got you to switch into hip hop from that, but we're going to just go back.
Yep.
So, wow, I actually am surprised it's only 2 dance classes a week, because I feel like I'm always seeing you post classes.
So I think it's like, so these are like 2 regular ones, and then sometimes I've been trying to add house a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And I do want to get better and do more house. It's so tiring.
It looks tiring. I've actually only taken house once or twice. I would love to take house more regularly. I think it's fun.
Every
but-
class, I'm like dripping in sweat.
Yeah.
And then I think, for instance, jazz funk, I'm trying to get into it. I'll like add a lot of different stuff, but the regular classes is, once or twice.
Yeah. Okay. Who are you taking for house?
House, so I've taken, I think, Jesse at
Okay.
Movement Life.
Okay.
The house, beginner house.
Actually, maybe that's who I took too. I took a house class at Movement Lifestyle, and it might have been him. It's a guy, right?
Girl.
Oh no, then it wasn't. Just
And then
kidding.
I recently tried a class, with Ray and Homare.
Okay.
Because those are more like open level.
Yeah.
I think those classes were pretty beginner friendly, so I think I was able to follow, but I'm like, I definitely want more of the beginner first.
Yes. I took an open level, and it was, I
Yes.
know what you're saying, because it actually was a little bit too hard for me. I did still really enjoy it, and I was like dying. Yeah, it's so tiring, but it's like really fun and keeps you, it kind of hurts my feet though, because you're really doing so much footwork, but it looks very cool.
Yes.
That's so cool. Okay, so yeah, talk about like where were you born? Where did you grow up?
New Jersey.
Okay, that's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
And so did you start dancing in New Jersey?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
So actually, I got started dancing after college. But I danced with my college's ballroom team, because they're open to like alums and like just community members.
Oh.
And like if you asked me before college that I would ever get into dance, I would say it would be surprising, because I'm like, I never thought I would get into dance.
Yeah. What were you into when you were younger? Like as far as was there anything extracurricular that you did?
So I played piano.
Cool.
For 13 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I love piano. I don't play it, but I love listening to it.
Played piano, and I also played cello for a bit in the school orchestra. And like, honestly, not very athletic.
Okay.
I remember, I think even in like middle school and high school, I think in gym class, I like used to hate stretching. And now like literally I will voluntarily stretch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, that's just healthy.
Yes.
But that's so funny. I mean, well, dance is the perfect thing to try to get athletic with, because you have a music background.
Yes.
It's probably so helpful, because a lot of people in dance don't necessarily didn't play an instrument or anything.
And that's actually something I'm like, I think when I was learning piano, like my like count and timing wasn't necessarily the best when I was still learning. But I think since I got started with dance, I will say timing is probably one of my strengths. And like, I feel oftentimes I'm like, I kind of maybe just, overlook that. I feel like, oh, it's like a minor part. But honestly, I'm like, I've been trying to like, embrace, honestly, if timing is a strength, like I'm going to at least keep that.
Yeah. And I think I can tell that from your videos. Like you have pretty good timing with all the moves and everything.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's great. And it's good to think of it like that, because we all come into it with different strengths, and a lot of times, especially as dancers, or I don't know, maybe just people in life in general tend to focus on our weaknesses and like all the things we're messing up or that we're not doing. But it's really good to be like, wait, this is something I'm good at. I'm going to like really hone in on that too. Cool. So wait, so now I'm like so curious. So what happened? So you didn't even do ballroom when you were in college.
I
So
did
what
not.
brought you back to your college to do ballroom?
So basically, I think after college, I think so I graduated just before COVID.
Okay.
And so I was like working, and I was trying to like try to find a way, just like meet people, just like find community as an adult. Luckily, I was in my college town still because I was living and working in Pittsburgh for a bit, and so and I had a couple of friends who did do ballroom.
Okay.
And they told me about it, and I had heard about it, and I was like, let's give it a try. And so I started ballroom literally January 2020.
Wow.
And then things went virtual, but I think. Doing virtual, the virtual times, they had like virtual like lessons, virtual hangouts, and so I like worked on some solo ballroom in my apartment, and like for about a year and a half it was like all virtual stuff. But I think that virtual ballroom and like the people I connected with helped me get through COVID.
Wow. I was going to say that's really cool that you were able to get into it just before COVID, which gave you something to kind of like hang on to. Like, this is a way I can still keep connecting. But it's interesting to do ballroom virtually because you're usually with a partner.
Yes. And so I think it's like I think while starting out, obviously there's a lot of like, solo technique to work on. And I think since I had really nothing else to do during COVID, it was something good to do during that time. But I think once in-person ballroom came back, I definitely prefer, practicing with a partner.
Yeah. I know for me, I took so many dance classes virtually. I got so into it and so obsessed with those teachers because I was doing it through New York that I almost like didn't think I wanted to go. Not that I didn't want to go back in person. I just wanted to stay with those teachers, and I was like getting really used to the virtual thing. But once I was back in person, I was like, oh, wait, I forgot this is way better.
Even though like our instructors will often say, because oftentimes there might be mismatches in partnerships. So they'll be like, there's still stuff you can practice alone. And like, yes, I know there's stuff you can practice, but I think for me, the other aspect is like, the connection part.
Yeah.
That, you can't really, do that. In fact, actually during virtual days, a couple of us friends, we actually tried to do a virtual dance social.
Okay.
And like tried to like mirror dancing. I did not work.
Okay. I was going to say,
I'd rather go to an actual social.
That was a nice attempt, though.
Oh, yes.
I mean, so how long were you learning ballroom and practicing virtually? Was it like a year?
So literally from 2020 till fall 2021.
Okay. So a year and a half or almost about a year. I mean, that was like, I guess, same for everyone, but I was just curious if you ended up being able to go back in person. But
I was able to do, I think, solo private lessons early 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And wow, so you must have, did you just really like it when you first started?
I think I was like, I think partly I was trying to find something to do, and like, I did, and like I started getting into it.
Yeah. Because I guess the things you used to do weren't really like group activities, like piano and. I mean, it can be, I guess.
I think it was also just something to do, but also it was also I think having like the community, having the people.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think maybe that was what really like drew you in.
Yes.
Was it like? Do you feel like the community aspect was even more compelling to you than like the actual dancing?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, but then you enjoy the dancing as well.
Yes.
And so were you someone before you started doing that? Were you someone that was very social, like that connected with people easily, or was that something that was harder for you?
So I will say, I think at the core, I consider myself like an introverted extrovert. Like I like get energy from people, but I think definitely before college, I definitely was bit more bit less out of my shell.
Okay.
College, I think I started getting more out of my shell, but it was really actually after college and then honestly through dance where I really found myself.
Yeah. Okay. So you had never even danced before, and now you're dancing like with partners or with a partner. Like, was that intimidating? Like, how did that feel in the beginning? Hi, everyone. So I wanted to tell you about my new book, The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010. This is my very first memoir. There will be more. It's not like a normal memoir where you're looking back on your life and reflecting on it and writing a book about it. It's more like a memoir in real time. So basically, when I very first moved to LA to pursue acting, which was in 2009, I decided I was going to write these like monthly newsletters where I sent out actual letters in the actual mail to a bunch of my friends every month to give them updates on what I was doing with acting and jobs and friendships and all kinds of things that I was going through my very first time ever living in LA. It ended up being pretty humorous, and so I've basically gone back and edited them so that I could publish them as a book. So that's what this is, and yeah, if you want to be entertained and have a good laugh, buy my book, or if you just want to help me pay my rent next month. Oh, and you can get it on Amazon. The Tracy in LA Newsletters 2010 by Tracy Nicole. Nicole is my middle name. Also, there's a link in my Instagram bio. You can get it paperback or on Kindle.
Oh, definitely in the beginning, I think, especially since before dance, I think I also, just struggle with loving my own body. And I think I was probably also not like maybe the strongest, and so I would it just definitely felt intimidating or just, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it would be. I would think it would be. And I mean, honestly, I would probably be intimidated right now doing ballroom. And then there's different types of ballroom.
Oh, yes.
So what, was it like a certain type that you were mostly training in?
So I think I actually did across, I did a lot of different styles. I did your waltz, tango, foxtrots, but also your Latin ones, cha-cha, rumba, samba.
So you kind of were just like learning everything kind of about the same amount.
Yeah.
Are there any of those that you like the most?
I will say, I think I started out liking, the Latin, more Latin dances more, but I think later on I end up, liking more of the classic ballroom, the waltz, waltz tangos. I think it just felt very elegant.
And why did you like that the most, or why did you start liking that the most?
I think it's the elegance. There's also beauty in, it doesn't have to be all the flash,
Okay.
But, and also I think waltz, foxtrot music tend to be kind of more classical.
Just kind of like the beauty of the simplicity. Not that it's simple, but just that it's more classic.
In fact,
and there's nothing crazy.
In terms of if you end up focusing on all the technique, you'll be sweating after a waltz.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of... Okay, because I'm just so new to that. I don't really know that world. So what... Give me an example of what some of the technique is, or what do you have to focus on?
So for instance, waltz, you're kind of sitting back a little bit, and in the way you drive your feet.
Okay.
There's a lot standing leg, driving your feet. For waltz, the standard dances, you have rise and fall.
Okay. What does that
so
mean?
You're basically kind of so waltz is 1 2 3 1 2 3. So 1 2 3 you go on ball, and then you come down, and then you just the way you the way you walk.
Okay.
And then your frame as well. How you lead. And follow.
Do you feel like it's helped your posture in general?
Oh, yes.
Because don't you have to have a really good posture?
In fact, I think so. Again, I did ballroom for I think maybe 3 or 4 years. I had friends, who did even longer. They even went up to so ballroom. I did, I was part of the collegiate, post-collegiate circuit, and so they had competitions.
Oh, nice.
And so and different levels, and so I got to I think bronze, silver levels. I had friends who got to the championship levels. And for them, I think you can actually tell their ballroom dancers their posture. They stand up tall
you could just, if you're walking down the street, you're that person does ballroom.
Yep.
I believe it though. When I used to take more ballet, I felt like my posture was getting so good, and now I feel like my posture is kind of bad again. But that's such a cool result of doing that. So you said you did that for 3 or 4 years, and then what happened? You didn't want to keep going, or?
I think. So since we're part of the collegiate community, I think there's a lot of coming and going, new members, older members, but also I think the other part was, again, I credit my ballroom training to the dancer I am today.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it it ends up being very structured, and then I think I had during my time in ballroom I discovered social dancing.
Okay.
So salsa, bachata, and that's much more freeform.
Okay.
And then I think, through that, and, I started liking that more. As well as discovered West Coast Swing. Also another social dance.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like more freeform. You get to play with the music a little bit more than ballroom.
And do you feel like you were getting pretty comfortable in that, like the freestyle of that, the playing? Because that seems sort of hard for like a perfectionist mindset. You're like, oh, I get to do whatever. Like,
it's like on one hand, I think I also got into those with the community aspect. I think all of my friends were getting into it, and the community was definitely a big part of when I danced. But also, I think even as like the perfectionist in me, my ballroom coach, would often tell me, and even just our team, because all of us are a very similar background, that we need to learn to like loosen up. Because our coach would say literally at competitions, you see other teams, they might not have like the most perfect technique, but they're getting placed, they're getting marked by judges. Whereas our team, our technique is great, but we dance so small. We're so focused on perfection. And so that was something I wanted to like work on.
Yeah, that's such a good thing to work on for anyone in any dance style, and definitely for me. Okay, so then you were loving the community, but then like how did you end up? Did you take a break from dance in general, or did you just start switching to like, oh, now I want to do hip hop?
So I started dancing more social dances, and then specifically through West Coast Swing. West Coast Swing comes from like Lindy Hop, but also it has taken like evolved with different other backgrounds, taken from Latin as well, ballroom, other styles, and hip hop as well. And so when I got into West Coast, a lot of the dancers that I really admired did hip hop.
Oh, okay.
And actually, that one friend I think that we switched cities with was actually the friend who got me into hip hop. And I think I took some hip hop classes back in Pittsburgh, and I was like, okay, it's like pretty cool. Once I moved here, obviously, and I've heard about LA hip hop being big, and I'm like, I obviously have to
you're like,
it.
Now's the time to get into hip hop.
Yeah.
Do you still do ballroom now?
No.
Okay. You're like, we're going to do hip hop to help with the ballroom or to help with the West Coast Swing or whatever. And then you were like, actually, I just want to do hip hop.
I think right now I'm kind of taking a break from West Coast Swing, but down the line, I definitely want to like get back into, West Coast Swing. I think just since, right now, since I moved here, I think, trying to like explore different dances, but eventually, I want to like continue working on West Coast. There's also like a competition circuit there as well.
Oh, nice. There's a competition circuit like out here in LA.
So, well, it's like with West Coast Swing, there's like a lot of different like kind of dance conventions across the country.
Okay.
And so, at each convention, there'll be like a Jack and Jill event where you like leads and followers, you draw each other, and then and compete. And so, LA has West Coast Swing, dance communities here, but also I think, across the country.
Yeah. Cool. So, but for now, you're just like enjoying hip hop.
Yes.
And how does that feel like different from all the partner dancing you were doing? Is it like more intimidating now to like be by yourself? Does it feel better? Like, what's the difference in your mind?
I think it's like a little bit of both, like in a sense, like, especially since this is LA hip hop, everyone's so good. And like even the beginner classes I go to are not like that beginner.
Right.
And so like it's definitely, a bit intimidating, but also on the flip side, I think, the energy from all the instructors like it's just so super positive.
No, I get that, because it's like you go to these classes in LA, it's intimidating, especially like at studios like Millennium or something, but then you get there and like, yes, it's kind of intimidating because there's such good dancers, but then the teachers are so good at teaching. Yes. And if you're trying to learn, and if you're a beginner, you do want to go to a really good teacher. So like the reason why they're at a big, good studio is because they're good at teaching, So if you can get over like the intimidation factor, like it's actually, most of them are so encouraging. I've hardly ever experienced a teacher at one of those studios that made me feel like I shouldn't be there or something. They've always just encouraged, and then you just grow because you're learning from someone who's really good at teaching, and then you see these other people that are so good, and it inspires you and helps you grow,
And because like the other nice part is, yes, there's a choreo, and obviously you want to follow that choreo, but at the end, I think, especially doing the groups, literally the instructor will say, now you have it, now just take this as your own. And so it's getting back to owning the choreo and not having to be perfect. Because like, it's like I know a little bit, but like, if I make a mistake, I keep going.
Yeah.
And like also who knows? Who knows I made a mistake?
Yeah. Well, it's mostly only yourself that knows. So like even people that know the choreo sometimes like don't notice, and you're so down about it, but it's just like you're the only one that saw it. And even if someone else sees it, like the encouragement that I've seen at these studios, like when it's almost like more encouragement when you mess it up because they want you to keep going. They want you to not worry about it. So they're like, yeah, come on, you got it. You know, it's been like a very cool environment. So I'm glad to hear that it's been like that for you too.
Yep.
So when you go to a class out here in LA taking hip hop, what is kind of how do you learn best? Like, do you like to go to a certain place in the room? Do you like have to really kind of not talk to anyone and focus super hard? Like in the beginning, like, do you feel stressed at first, but then you like, what is your process when you're learning in class?
So I think first I will say, I think since I haven't taken as many instructors, you know, the strategy might change. But I think right now, I think I'm not like tuning out completely because I do like it when instructors are like, oh, talk to someone next to you, you know, that you don't know, and so to kind of feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And then I think I just kind of like dig in and go through the choreo, and then if we get to drill a little bit, you know, that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like when the teacher like notices a certain part that we're not getting and they're like, okay, let's do that like 15 times. I'm like, yes, thank you. I know Alkai is really good about that. Kayla's also like an amazing teacher. I used to take her a bit too. But where do you like to stand in the room? Do you like to stand up close? Do you like to stay in the back? Where do you like to go?
Kind of like, so like, you know, not directly in the front yet, but like kind of like, you know, towards the front.
Yeah, so you can see, but then not be like too stressed being very all the way in the front.
And again, also, I think, you know, Alkai and Kayla are only main ones I've been to so far, but I think they also do a good job rotating, and I think that helps.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot. My current teachers don't really do that, so I forgot a lot of teachers do like part way through the class they'll be like, okay, switch to like a different spot, which is nice / also is a good way to like force you to learn from a different spot because some of us like to go in the same spots all the time, which is I am one of them.
Or like I think what I actually really like when Alkai in his hip hop class he'll be like have us face the back.
Oh, yes. Alkai does do that, and like there are some teachers. Nico O'Connor, he teaches jazz funk at Millennium. He does that almost every time. That is such a good technique because I am better at it now than I used to be because of these teachers that like have made us do it. Because I used to be like, oh, what? The back? We don't have a mirror to look into? It's like, well, if you're on stage performing, you're not going to have a mirror to look into.
But that's actually something I think through that I noticed when I'm like dancing, you know, in the class. And like learning, like yes, I'll maybe the first couple of times I'll look at the instructor, to see what they're doing. But I realized I don't actually use the mirror, which maybe it's a good or bad thing. I feel like I'm like just in my head, Maybe on one hand, if I switch spots, I can still like generally get the choreo. But on the other hand, I'm like I'll realize when I do have the mirror, maybe I can use it more. That's
funny. So like the back's probably like easy for you because you're like I wasn't using the mirror anyways. I know Alkai. The last time I took his class, he was like. He was telling us, make sure you're looking at yourself in the mirror because we were looking at him so much. And he's like, okay, now that you kind of know it, stop looking at me and look at yourself in the mirror so you can like see. I mean, the whole point of the mirror is to see how we're coming across because it is good to feel it, but it's also good to know like what it looks like because sometimes we think we're killing it and then we see and we're like that just looks kind of weird.
Exactly.
So I think it's like that's an interesting point. It's like good to have a mix because you are going to have to watch the teacher. Maybe if you're turned to the back there is someone else getting it a little bit better that you're going to maybe watch a little bit, but ultimately it's trying to get it inside of you and knowing what you look like. But then ultimately not even needing anyone else or a mirror because the whole point is like to perform. So with performing, I mean, you basically performed when you were doing ballroom because you did competitions and stuff.
Yeah, basically.
So you performed for like judges.
Yeah.
That's like a big deal.
Yeah.
Did that stress you out when you used to do that?
I think for me, so growing up, since I would go to like piano auditions and like I guess like I didn't really dance, but I think I did do like some like elementary, middle school like theater club, and so just in general, and even something my parents have also said like that I've always kind of been like pretty good at in pressure being watched, and so I think that part in the ballroom part not as intimidating. I think I would say it's more like when I'm like practicing or like just navigating the interaction with people. That's the part that was more stressful.
Like just chatting with people afterwards. Okay, so let's talk about that. So performing not as much of a problem, although you haven't Have you ever performed on like a stage? Did you perform on stage when you did ballroom? It's mostly just on the floor.
I think, for some of the showcases I have performed.
You have been on stage? And
Yeah.
how was that? Did that feel any different for you, or was it just kind of the same?
Same.
That's interesting
Not too
because
bad.
for me, performing on stage apparently is like a whole different thing that like scares me, but I've just been pushing myself to do it more. But that's really cool that you don't have that. So as far as like, yeah, just chatting with people, and that I was going to ask you about that anyways, because like being new to LA, so how has that been? Like, obviously I know you're friends with Georgia, but like in general, like starting out, especially, like, did you feel like you were meeting people right away, or was it kind of just like right afterwards you would just kind of not talk to anyone and leave, or like what was that journey?
So again, I think since it's still been like less than a year, and this move being honestly my like maybe first major move, because
Okay.
like when I moved from Jersey to Pittsburgh for school, and then when stayed there after graduation, like I already had like a comfort zone in
Okay.
in Pittsburgh, and so this is kind of like my first real move.
Yeah.
It's definitely been hard. I think
Okay.
I think there's a reason why I've been kind of like taking a break from the West Coast swing community. I think it's just been harder to like connect. Whereas for hip hop, I've been like actually, it's been slightly easier to connect. I've again like obviously started to meet some people. Like actually, Georgia's my very first friend, I would say.
Aw.
in the hip-hop world.
That's so fascinating to me that you find it easier to connect in hip hop classes than ballroom, where you're physically dancing with somebody else.
I think it has to do with when I'm going to like the socials, everyone's like, I guess I'm also like fairly new, I think everyone there, after each song they want to keep dancing, they want to dance someone else, they're
Okay.
looking for people to dance with. Whereas in the solo classes, again, I think oftentimes instructors will be like, oh, talk to someone, and then I think and again, even now I think it's still been not easy. I think because we'll talk before after class, but after that we all kind of like
yeah.
so like it's still hard, still hard. I don't think I've like met like the close friends I have, that I met through ballroom. Because
Yeah.
I know a lot of my closest friends through ballroom are all long distance.
Okay. But you're noticing that like maybe the speed of which you're meeting people is a little bit like faster with hip hop. Like you don't have the close friends yet because you haven't been doing it as long as you were doing like ballroom.
Yes.
But that's interesting. So why do you consider Georgia like your first friend? Like how did you end up connecting with her more?
I think just, again, same thing. I think before and after Kayla's classes, since we go like pretty regularly, we start I think just like talking a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think it also helped that she also moved here fairly
Right.
recently.
I was thinking that she also recently moved here. She's also very friendly, so I'm like
Yes,
not surprised.
exactly.
I was just like curious, like if there was something specific that like helped you to like get to know a certain person, or like for me, one of the ways that I get to know people in class is just like because I take so many videos, people will be like, oh, can you airdrop that from your, I think I'm in your video. And sometimes I just make friends that way. I learn because I didn't used to make friends in dance as much as I do now. When I first started dancing, like I a lot of times just went and then left. Sometimes I barely like talked to anybody or said hi. It took me like maybe a year or two before I started being like, okay, I've seen this girl 45 times now.
Yep.
I guess I should ask her name, or like,
I think that's something now that I've been going to more classes more regularly. If I see some people, repeatedly, I'll like
kind of introduce yourself, or like,
myself.
do you feel like Instagram or social media has helped in making friends through class because you like see people's videos and
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yes.
I love that you like found dance as a way to really like build community. I mean, I know everyone usually ends up building community, but it seems like that was just like your biggest draw, and then you also just discovered like something else that you love, which is really cool. So now that you are into dance, even though it's mostly the community aspect that you like, do you have any specific dance goals, or is it just like let's just keep going and keep growing in general?
I think getting better at movement, maybe exploring a couple more dances. I think contemporary is an area I want to explore a little bit more, but not a lot of beginner level in
Oh,
LA.
that's interesting that you say that because, okay, I think I saw you took a contemporary class before.
I took it. I think it was here in Athletic Garage. 'Cause I
Okay.
think that was the only one I saw that was like more beginner level. Because
I thought I saw you took one at Millennium, but maybe it wasn't contemporary.
No.
Maybe it just sort of looked contemporary.
maybe it was like a jazz funk one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to take contemporary. When I first started dancing, there wasn't beginner or contemporary. So I took class at a studio called Edge. You weren't out here at the time, but it closed down during COVID, and they had a ton of really good advanced classes and beginner classes. but they did not have beginner contemporary. And I would
Right.
see contemporary dancers through the window in their classes, and I would just be like, oh, one
Right.
day, maybe in 5 years, because I was taking ballet, and I felt like you needed this isn't necessarily true, but I felt like you needed like a lot of ballet to be able to do contemporary well, which it definitely helps. And I was like, I need to get more ballet. I need to get better at picking up choreography. I need to get more flexible in order to take contemporary. And then COVID happened, and I was taking all my classes virtually through Broadway Dance Center in New York. And they had beginner contemporary, and it fit in my schedule so perfect because the time zone, I think it started at like 9 a.m. in New York, but for me it was 6 a.m., something like that. It was like right before I started my job from home. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. I can set it up in my room or my living room and just like take a class and then go right to work in my room, you know? And so I finally was taking contemporary, and it was so exciting. And I took beginner contemporary and then like advanced beginner contemporary. I think I moved up to that level. And then once we started going back in person, I was like, oh, I think I can try to find contemporary classes now. So I get what you're saying, because yeah, there's not a lot. Although I'm going to be teaching I'm like, I just remembered this. You should come to my class.
I've marked it down because I'm like,
oh, good.
Because like, I think just from like hearing you talk, about in your dance experience, I feel like that, that will be, good enough. Good
I'm
for me.
like, I mean, I've definitely been taking class with people that are advanced contemporary dancers, so that has been growing me and pushing me. But my mindset is still very like, I don't feel like I haven't been dancing as long as most people, so I have a very beginner mindset where I feel like I understand what a beginner feels like.
Yep.
And so that's what I think I've taught a few classes now, and that's what I feel like is my strength, is like understanding where a beginner is coming from and trying to teach to that type of person. And obviously more advanced, I've had advanced people come to my class and then they just make it more advanced, like maybe they do a triple turn instead of a single turn or something. But yeah, so I would love for you to come.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then obviously if some of the moves were stuff that you weren't comfortable with, there's always ways, even in these really advanced classes, they're very cool with you just like modifying. I mean, there's so many classes I take right now that I'm like, I don't know what that move is. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to try something else. But yeah, that's so cool. I'm so glad. I hope you can make it. But yeah, there's a little bit of lack in LA with beginner classes. Fortunately, you can kind of just show up to anything. They're generally not going to like kick you out. You just have to kind of modify stuff until you get better. So it's fine, but it would be nice if there was a little more beginner options.
I noticed it's more like hip hop is the only one that has like maybe because it's like there's more popular, but like hip hop has like the beginner 1, 2, 3 track.
Right.
Every other dance, even jazz funk, some class have beginner, but then most of it just jazz funk.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I'm trying to use certain classes trying to get into it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true for LA. That's what I noticed when because Edge used to have beginner for almost all the styles except contemporary. They had like beginner jazz, beginner tap, beginner hip hop, beginner ballet, but then Edge closed down, and I was telling my New York teachers, like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm taking class in LA. The only thing they have is hip hop. They have a bunch of different levels for hip hop, and then every other kind of style is just advanced.
Another thing that got me into solo dance was one of my other Pittsburgh friends does whacking.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I took one of her whacking classes in Pittsburgh, and it was like difficult, but like I was able to follow it.
Yeah.
Here, I'm like, if there were beginner whacking, I will definitely want to, because I definitely want to continue, but a lot of these open level whacking, I'm like, I don't think I'm at...
open level is sometimes just advanced,
Yeah.
which is still fine.
Yeah.
They especially, I mean, they're generally not going to kick you out of a class, even if you're in an advanced one that you shouldn't be in. But definitely open level, they can't even look at you weird because you're like, well, it's called open level. But a lot of the open level ones are still pretty advanced.
But I think it's more like, even though if they're not going to kick me out, I think it's just my mindset. I'm going to see everyone's so good, and...
You're like, I'm over here,
Yeah.
and I'm barely getting through the second 8 count or something. Yeah. And whacking is hard, but yeah, it's very cool when people get really good at. Actually, Ali Vega, she teaches like hip hop femme or something like that, and I think she has a beginner one now. Have you ever been to her class?
I have not yet.
Because, I mean, it might not be totally your style, but I do believe she does like a whacking warm-up, and she puts a lot of whacking in her things, and she does have a beginner. So you may want to just check it out and see if you like it. She is a very good teacher. I actually took her
I've
for
heard
a
good
while,
things about her.
and I grew a lot actually in my choreo pickup, because I'm glad she has a beginner class, basically, because her regular class was like, she did teach pretty fast, but it did grow me a lot. But yeah, she has a beginner class. I'm pretty sure she put whacking in her warm-up like every time. So I started getting better at it because she kept like going over it, which was really cool. But let me see if there was anything else, because we have like 5 more minutes, and I want to see if there was anything else I really wanted to ask you. Oh, is there anything else you like to do for fun besides dance?
So I on the side I enjoy like just making videos like
Okay.
videography, and then also just exploring coffee shops.
Oh,
Cafe
nice. I know I've seen some of your posts on Instagram. It looks like you're doing some cool like editing. And what program do you use?
Final Cut.
Oh, nice. I used to use that a long time ago. Now I use DaVinci Resolve, which I had never heard of.
Is
but
it paid?
It's not the paid one because I don't need it. I don't need the paid version right now. Maybe I will at some point. But actually, it's been really great, and I've just like really like it. I used to use Final Cut a long time ago, and I used to use Adobe Premiere. But now
I think for Adobe, because like if I were to get Adobe, that would be the only thing I get because I don't really do Photoshop.
Okay.
And so I'm like, it's kind of not worth paying. The subscription.
Yeah, it is kind of expensive, but okay, that's cool. Yeah, I've been enjoying like seeing like what you're doing. Like I'm not doing a lot of special effects these days, but it's kind of fun to like watch that. And then coffee shops. Okay, I don't drink coffee, but do you have like a current favorite or one of your favorite coffee shops in LA right now?
So again, I'm also more into like the coffee shop vibe.
Okay, me
But
too.
I think let me just think. There's a lot of good ones in
Yeah.
LA. Creatures in Eagle
Creatures.
Rock.
Oh, wait, I'm close to Eagle Rock.
It's really
Creatures.
cute. It's like a coffee and plants shop.
Oh.
There's coffee and plants in Pasadena and Studio City.
Oh, cool. Is there a lot of seating there?
Coffee and plants has seating.
Okay. Wait, it's called Coffee and Plants.
Yes.
Oh, Creatures is a different one.
Yes, a different
Coffee
one.
and Plants is a different one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Let me see, is there any?
I haven't even heard of those ones, but I'm also not like a big.
And then I
Coffee
think there's a
person.
lot in Silver Lake.
Okay. Yes, I know Silver Lake has a lot of cute cafes and stuff. I used to babysit in that area and explored it a little, but well, that's fun. Random question, do you ever meet someone when you're just like at a coffee shop?
Not really. I feel like I'll start conversations, but I guess that's just been it'll just be like that, like friendly
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. I feel like I hear stories of people meeting people at coffee shops, and I don't really know how that happens, hence
Same.
why I asked.
Like I want to, but also I don't like. I feel like maybe this is where the more introverted side comes in. I'm like, I don't want to bother someone if they're like doing stuff.
Do you feel like, speaking of that, do you feel like LA feels more or less friendly than where you came from, like in general, like not the dance classes, but just like in general being out and about?
Not sure about friendly or sociability. I will say, LA, I definitely feel more of like the kind of like more laid back,
Okay.
creative vibe than
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
albeit
yeah.
I think Pittsburgh and even East Coast, I definitely see more of the 9 to 5 people, and also albeit Pittsburgh being in a college town, like it's just more like intense. Here it's more laid back.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I'm assuming it's similar to New York, which I've only visited, but I was like, oh, it really is how people describe it, which is people are just like driven and they're going and they're like in their own zone. And so LA, exactly what you said. It's not so much that people are like really friendly. It's not like the Midwest, which is where I'm from, but it's like more
Question
more chill.
about Midwest.
Yeah.
Would you consider, because this is something from the East Coast to me, I have an answer about it, but would you consider Pittsburgh Midwest?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. Should we be?
Because it's like, as the East Coast to me, I don't think it's East Coast. So I think it's Midwest, like the
Okay.
start of Midwest. But then
Okay.
the Pittsburghers I talk to, they don't think they're Midwest. They think Ohio and onwards.
Yeah, I
So-
would not think of Pittsburgh as Midwest, but I have never thought about it till now.
That's
so
fair. Again,
You
I think
could be right.
probably the East Coast in me thinks.
Okay. Yeah, I think it depends. When I first moved to California, I felt like everybody, oh yeah, this is what it was. People would always be like, "Oh, are you going to go back east for the holidays?" Like they knew I was from Chicago and I'd be like, "Back east?" But then I I've like never heard anyone say that before. But like I realized everything is east if you're in California.
I will say that's also one thing I noticed people, because I have some friends in NorCal, but at least LA wise, I noticed people definitely walk more slowly here than like East Coast.
Oh yeah.
East Coasters, they're just walking like New Yorkers. They're just
Yeah.
They're getting
completely. I completely
Here I'm like,
experienced that.
I think I still have the East Coast pace sometimes. So I'll be like, why is everyone going so slow?
Oh yeah. I think I am. I think California has definitely rubbed off on me, but I used to be more type A, more like super fast walker. I still can be like that sometimes. I'm like, why is everyone going so slow? Like, what is happening? Even when I'm driving, I'm a pretty passive driver. But more recently, I feel like a lot of people are driving like under the speed limit. I'm like, I'm not a speed driver, but like,
Don't
come
even get me
on.
started with LA driving. I think
How would you describe
not
LA
just
driving?
the traffic, the amount of times people don't use turn signals.
Oh,
Like, I think that is something I'm like,
that is pretty common, I guess. Yeah, but where you're from, did you drive? Do you
So-
drive in Pittsburgh?
so Pittsburgh, I think I got my car a couple years ago, and then I shipped it here when I moved here. Before that, I think, since when I was in school, I didn't really need to drive much.
Okay.
But because within the city, it's like transit, you can get by, pretty well. It's not like New York, obviously, in terms of
Yeah.
like transit. But I think once I got my car, it still helped, to like go further out in the city, because it's still not as
Yeah.
it's still more scattered.
Totally.
And actually, once I got my car, the two main things I would drive to is coffee shops and dance.
The same thing you're doing now,
Yeah.
basically. And would you say how is the traffic there?
Not like I think obviously maybe right around downtown, like a little bit, but honestly, nothing compared to LA
Really?
or New York.
That's funny because I actually felt like LA was, and we're going to wrap this up because we got to go to class, but I kind of felt like LA was not as bad as Chicago because I had to drive. Well, I was living in the suburbs and driving downtown Chicago to get to like certain jobs I had and stuff. And like, oh my gosh, that traffic and how much people honk their horns. It's just like, it is like angry and stressful and takes a million years. And like, yes, there's a lot of traffic in LA, but I actually think people are like a little bit nicer, and it's not everyone has a day job. So like in Chicago, during certain hours, it is just like the worst thing you've ever experienced. Out here, it's moderately bad all the time, but it's not like so bad at certain hours. I don't know. So people like talk about the LA traffic, and I'm like, no, Chicago is worse. That's how I feel, but it's still pretty bad. Anyways, that's our traffic recap point.
Yeah.
Was there anything else, Eric? This did go by like so fast.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It
I was like,
so fun to hear your story, and I really wish I have to go to rehearsal right after class. I wish I could like directly talk about like watching Eric dance because I've never danced in class with you, so I'm excited to do that. But was there anything else you wanted to like share, or any advice you want to give to other people thinking about trying dance, or I don't know, anything else you want to say?
I guess I would say, if anyone wants to try dance, do it. I feel like, again, I didn't expect I would ever get into dance, and now it's like basically my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think that's something that I learned too, is like anybody can dance. When I first started, I had this thing in my head that all dancers looked a certain way, danced a certain way.
Yep.
And then when I got into the dance community, I was like, oh, it's all types of people. Like anyone can do this. And like, I didn't realize that. So yeah, great advice. If you want to dance, just do it.
Yep.
And Eric, thanks so much for taking time to be on the podcast.
Yep.
Awesome having you. I'm so excited to take class with you in a few minutes.
Yep.
And thank you guys for watching and listening. Please subscribe and like and rate and review, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.